happened, you know? All right, how we doing? First of all, thank you guys enormously for that last session. Last few sessions have been fantastic, so really appreciate it. Little introduction, my name is Spencer Wilcox. I'm with Everybody Eats. We just came into Pharma in the last few years and help companies measure marketing ROI across different things they're doing. Fellas, you guys want to introduce yourselves real quickly?
Yeah, sure, thanks a lot, Spencer. So I'm Niccolò Huismans. I'm the Regional Innovation and Digital HCP Engagement Manager for Menarini.
Hi, I'm Robert. I was yesterday here, so happy to be again here. Thank you for the invitation, Spencer.
Yeah. So Justin, I'm not sure where you are in the audience now, but you had mentioned a thing in your talk earlier, or in the panel earlier, about how forecast versus revenue is measured and looked at very closely, but not necessarily field force ROI or marketing ROI or different things like that. So these guys have been playing with those kinds of questions for the last few years, so I figured we'd have some interesting insights asking some questions of them. So real quick, for both of you guys, what was kind of the original reason that you were interested in bringing in marketing mix modeling to measure the ROI of X, Y, or Z?
I can start. I grew up in, so I'm today with Grünenthal, but I grew up in AZ. And in the German environment, it was really, we measured everything. And I had a boss who formerly said, what you not measure, the people will not do. It's very provocative. And if I'm saying this on a stage with a sales team in the room, everybody will hate me. But to be honest, it's reality. And we came together, Spencer, because Florent, our former COMEX head globally, I think very well known here in this environment, he came up with you a couple of years ago, and the question, can we measure the success of your sales team in Germany against our external sales team, which was a very successful one, but nobody was really clear about the quality of them. And that was one of the reasons why we started with new tools and different tools to measure.
Cool.
So in our case, it was a very specific question. So we really wanted to, so we embarked in like a journey towards like, say, innovating, like treating our portfolios differently, so like to try and find new levers to promote our products better. So our question was very simple, so like how much value is attached to our omnichannel engagement. That's all we wanted to know, like a very, very simple, even numeric value for us to understand this.
And once we jumped in on both of these, and we'll kind of go back in reverse order now, after we did a little bit of the analysis at the beginning, were there some additional questions that were triggered or spurred by, oh, wait a minute, maybe we can look at this and that and the other now?
Of course.
Yeah, so in our case, so we started with like a very specific, very pinpointed question, and then after you have answered that question, then you brought us like a whole new world of like other things that we could measure. So like we could not only understand the impact of our omni-channel capabilities, but also like what was working best, what wasn't working, in which specialties, in which type of say events or like types of communications, engagements with HCPs. So like a whole new world was born from there. And so we started getting really interested in like, okay, maybe it's not only about like our omnichannel capabilities, maybe it's like about like the whole management of our portfolio, of our marketing mix, of our promo grid. And so from there, new questions started arriving. Even so we ran the first pilot in a country, in Portugal, because we had enough data to pinpoint, let's say, specific visits to HCPs, well, not to specific HCPs, but like to, say, micro-bricks HCPs, to the actual final prescription that was, let's say, that was brought to the pharmacy. So we had the whole flow of these type of details. And from there, the Portuguese team, they started saying, hey, wow, but this is not only about like knowing our digital impact, our omnichannel impact. Here we can do a lot more. We can really improve our efficiency and our effectiveness in promotional activities.
Yeah, I think it's the same. When you start to measure, you will find more questions you want to answer. And in our case, it was the same. So we started with a specific question in Germany about the sales teams, but increased it over Europe, especially on the focus on Italy in your example. And of course, the whole omnichannel part was the next question, and it's normal. As I said, if you start to measure where we are successful, you will not stop.
So from a country management team, when you guys get these findings, how did the discussion about your decision making going forward look a little bit different than before, or give us a little bit of before and after?
Yeah. I would say before our global team had the feeling that we have maybe an external sales force because it was needed in the old times when you need share of voice, and with the data we convinced them that this sales force is in our specific case, and it's as I said yesterday, this is a trusting environment here. This sales force is better than ours. So that guided us to some hard decisions, but data-driven and not gut feeling, because people are sometimes believing that this or that is better. But with the data, you can really discuss it and convince the CEO about the next maybe hard decisions, good decisions to increase it or to go the digital way. Was also one of the understandings. When we understand that Omni is a successful tool for our portfolio in our size, it was an investment case. And this is with data, you have always better discussions, and that's, I think, also in this morning the AI discussion was. I think one of the first drops was expensive. Yes, it is, but if we understand and can measure that it's needed and that it will be successful, then we will also invest, or they invest, however. Data is guiding us, and that's why I'm saying what you not measure, you don't know, or the people will not do. Yeah?
So I remember, I remember doing the analysis with you guys and seeing those findings and feeling some trepidation to come in and say what the findings were showing us, because it wasn't necessarily what I thought people wanted to hear on the management team. You actually weren't totally surprised by it. You were saying like, oh, I kind of, they've been following our recommendations more than the internal team a little bit. And we also had some findings with some of your countries where it was like, oh, this is politically too hard to swallow right now. Talk a little bit about, and that's not a journey that's resolved from today to tomorrow, but talk a little bit about how kind of, I don't know, the trust and confidence gets built over time to make hard decisions like you just talked about.
Yeah, exactly. So as you said, I clearly remember a couple of examples of like you presenting us with some data saying, okay, like the activities that you're doing like for this product, the face-to-face promotion, we are not bringing anything additional to the thing. And like the country managers were like, okay, this is something quite shocking. And obviously some of the things, as you said, like politically, let's say, hard to pass on the organization, like the local organization, but still was a door opener for us. So like we could start to engage with conversations with the local teams in order to share with them, okay, we have the data, we have a lot of data actually, and we just need to know like how to use it in order to improve our actions, to improve our the way that we go to the market. And so this enabled us to start more conversations with our local teams, and also to show like how we were using the analysis and the insights that you were getting out of the data in order to let's say to have like virtuous conversations to understand, okay, what can we do next? So like we have analyzed this part, maybe we can look at some other share of our portfolio in a different way. So like to combine or to try something new.
Yeah.
I think similar. Yeah. If you started, and the first thing was to explain how you came to the data. I think what is the source, how we work with it, why we can trust you in this case.
Yeah.
That's I think the soup, because you are coming with data which are sometimes challenging the belief you had over, I don't know, decades, especially around Salesforce. And we use this as well to discuss it with the Workers' Council. And to do it with data was much more effective, transparent and open than doing it without or to hide it or however. So it was a hard, transparent process over all areas in the company, and really helpful to have honest and future-driven and success-oriented discussions with all the areas. And as I said, I'm pointing here especially the Workers' Council because they were super open to discuss with data, because that was a different discussion than we had over the years before, I have to say.
So it's not just opinions at that point.
Yeah.
And to that point, I think that raises a really important point. So the analysis that we do is old AI. It's just called econometrics. There's advanced statistics, and it can be very transparent. The new generative AI or the new neural network models that those things are built on, those, unfortunately, one of the challenges with them is you can't explain why it reaches the finding that it reaches. And so in that kind of a conversation, it's very hard to say, well, this is the answer because here's the flow of logic that got us to here. But with old-style econometrics, you can show with graphs. What kind of benefits or impact has this stuff had for you guys? And we'll start with you and then go over here.
Yeah, as an example, we maintained this external sales force because it was the outcome was very clear. They are more, or the invested euro is coming twice back, so they were much better than our own team. So we had two opportunities: train our own team, develop them to a level, or focus the external team on a product or on an individual product focus, make them more successful. So we choose the more successful way. In Italy, we reduced our investments in one product portfolio by or reducing 40% of the investments, and maintained our market share. So that was also something we really have out of your analysis. And also the big decision on we are going the digital way was driven by the analysis, because we showed that we are always better, and very clearly better, and that was the driver for the top level team to say we are investing over the next 5 years in development of our company and commercial excellence. And this is where we are today. So without the analysis, I would say it's much harder to convince the whole company, the shareholder, in our case, the family, to invest in this new area.
Interesting. And we're early in the journey with you guys, but so far, what have some of the changes you've seen in the organization as a result?
Yeah, so one of the first things, as also Robert said, is like the fact that the affiliates, like the local countries, have understood that there is another way that they can do things. So there's not only the way that they've been doing it for like the last 50 years, but there is something new that they can try. And it's also supported by data, by like insights, by relevant, let's say, values on that. So that's definitely one of the first points. Because like before we ran these studies with you, countries were just like, okay, we've been doing this for the past 50 years, it's worked, so why should we change? And now we have actually brought them hard evidence that something can be changed, and something can be changed for the better. So that's definitely one of the first points. And that's why, so we've started with one pilot in Portugal. And Portugal was like, they were super happy, like super excited, and they, right after the pilot, they decided to analyze the full portfolio. Or like, maybe not the full portfolio, like after, like the top 80% or something. And so, like for Portugal and other countries that have then jumped on board, they are right now trying to implement some of those findings in the next cycles. So they actually, let's say, they actually discovered that the value of those insights could be readily used, and so we are now waiting for the first results in order to build a use case for it, and let's say, and get maybe hopefully other countries on board for this. And then the third part is, say, the third factor is that in other countries or legal entities where it was more difficult to politically, let's say, use data, this evidence, still it was a door opener. So we now can have more conversation with them on a different level. So like to start discussing with them how we can use different approaches, how they can review their marketing grid, how they can review their investments in the spending. And so that's also something which is really very helpful for us, because before we just had a closed door in front of us and we couldn't really get to those type of conversations with them.
And you guys had a launch product that we analyzed in a few countries that was still to be launched in some others, and we found some kind of consistent patterns of what was really working in the launch. Did that help influence kind of some of the rollout plans in other places?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had this product which I think was launched in a couple of countries, and then we started also studying in others which had just launched it. And they say some of the insights that came out of like the previous countries that were analyzed could be used for the following ones in order to already, let's say, to shift some of the marketing activities which we already knew from the previous analysis that maybe were not working that well, or could be working better if targeted to a specific specialist or a specific type of events. So that there was also, let's say, a continuous learning, so like learning from other cases and then transposing these learnings into the other markets.
Niccolò. I got some other thoughts or questions here, but are there any kind of questions from the audience or topics you guys would be curious for us to address with this?
Okay, maybe that's easier. Did you also use it for optimizing specific tactics, like, targeting, frequency, call planning?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
very clear. Yes.
Yeah, so like from the analysis, like we, Spencer and the team, they were able to tell us, okay, like this frequency, like after a certain number of visits, say the return is like very low, or like it's better to be more focused on specialist targeting for like the first 1 to 5 visits, or like GPs for like the 5th to 10th visit, and then also the impact of omnichannel, other types of omnichannel engagement, events, and other things. So we were actually able to also to define some of the activities that our field force will be doing, that our colleagues from headquarters will be doing with like omnichannel engagement towards the HCPs, which maybe before we wouldn't have known. It would have been just gut feeling, but now we have data telling us, okay, this is actually working, or this is actually not working.
Yeah, you are becoming more precise in what is the biggest value
Exactly.
for a brand, and maybe what is the lowest, but you are doing it because you are opti-channel, however you
Yeah.
you call it,
Dario channel.
for the customer. Yes.
What kind of challenges do you see regarding to connect the different data sources? I mean, external and internal data. Thank you.
I'll probably take that one. It's not that bad in pharma, actually. So generally it's, in Western Europe, it's kind of the IQVIA sales data, and then, or something like it, or sell out by territory if it's in Eastern Europe. And then the CRM data with the field force visits and the rep emails and the event attendees, Salesforce Marketing Cloud or something like that with emails. And then if you guys are doing advertising in print journals or digital journals or other things like that, that data can be pulled back at a city level. So we map all of this data to different cities across the country. So like in Germany's case, we'll have like 230 macro brick city areas that we'll be able to measure over time all these different combinations of activities. As they increase or decrease or change combinations, how does that impact results afterwards? So not terrible on the data front. Usually like a few weeks to a month and a half. Yeah,
correct me if I'm wrong, Spence, but like also in our case, so we in Menarini, we have like a custom-built CRM, so we don't have Salesforce or other things. But like we just built an extractor that like it's just like sending flat files every day, at a cadence or something. And then the other types of data, we either got it from IQVIA sales or like from some internal say sources. So it was fairly easy, I would say.
Yeah. Other questions? All right, one last one for me then. So I'm going to propose a picture of a new way of working. You guys give me the pros and cons, candidly, what you'd think of this. So we did the analysis with you guys. Then in your case, we went on did the analysis with a bunch of other countries afterwards. In some of your countries, we're starting to do it on a regular cadence. But let me propose a picture of like every 6 months, we update the analysis, and you guys made the changes you made, and then you're able to see afterwards, here's the new study. Okay, 6 months later, we make some more changes. Okay, here's the new study 6 months later. 6 months later, we make some new changes. How does that way of working change versus today? What would be the, candidly for you guys as a GM of a team, what would be the pros and cons of having that kind of a setup?
It would be fantastic if you do it or you are doing here a very good pitch, Spencer, I would say. So because I'm just thinking about my budget as a GM.
We're much more affordable than we used to be, by the way. Like a lot more.
But just joking. I think it's really helpful because that would be ideal. Because what we did in our case was also to showing, especially to the Workers' Council, what we promised and what are the results afterwards. And I think if you do this on a continuously way, that would be fantastic because you can also adapt, especially today with all the digital activities we are doing. So I think we are learning. We are learning every day, every month, and every quarter. We know more than the year before. And I think this would help a lot to see and to adapt our activities for our brands, our customer engagements. And this would help a lot. The question is always how you can build it up in your daily environment and who can pay for this. But that's another question we can talk maybe in the break.
Yeah, in our case, I think that, so we've seen also with the studies that we've done this far, that like 6 months cadence is maybe a bit too, let's say, too quick for us, because we're very slow at understanding, implementing and everything. So we need more, it's the evidence that we've seen, like we need more time to, let's say, see what we've got, understand what we can do with it, do it, and then also reap the benefits, or like the insights. So that's why...
That's really good guidance.
Maybe it's a year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's more... So like, for instance, like we started this pilot with Portugal, I think last year, July or something. Then we analyzed the full portfolio over the year. And then now they're implementing all the insights. But then before taking the next step, they say, okay, we first want to see like what the results are.
Or the results. So it's a year maybe afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So it's maybe a year. Yeah. Whereas maybe in other cases with like new products that have been recently launched, maybe like the time frame is like a bit smaller. So that
that's
could be
good guidance.
Could
yeah, because in their case they changed the whole promo grid. So that was a big rollout to prepare.
Yeah, exactly.
And to plan.
So because like we had like mainly two type of analysis. Like one with a full portfolio was like I mean it's like very mature, and so those ones are like changes that take longer time to be implemented. Whereas for the other affiliates where we studied like products in the launch phase, it's like much quicker, like much more nimble. So it's maybe we have the opportunity to do it like on a rolling basis, like more quickly to implement changes.
Good. Okay, any other questions? Now we'll wrap up for coffee break. All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.